with the order. In the heart of a sleepy town, hiding in the shadows, was an old McDonald's restaurant. It was once a beacon of joy, but its golden arches have lost their shine. He became a forgotten relic, abandoned by time and abandoned by society. However, few people knew that a sinister force had awakened in its faded walls. One dark and rainy night, a young woman named Emily had to go out for her first shift at McDonald's drive. Eager to prove herself, she arrived at the restaurant, experiencing a feeling of discomfort when she entered through the creaking doors. The place was filled with a terrifying silence, broken only by the distant thunderclaps. Emily was wearing her uniform, trying to get rid of the goosebumps that were running down her back. When she approached the entrance window, she noticed a strange feeling in the air. The night itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The first car arrived, its headlights passed through the darkness. Emily made herself smile as she greeted the driver, but her heart missed the beat when she saw his eyes. They were empty, devoid of any life or emotion. The man spoke in a monotonous voice, barely audible because of the storm. "I'll be a Big Mac and medium-sized fries," he said, and Emily shuddered at the back of his words. With trembling hands, she composed the order. Her fingers slipped on the buttons as if they were covered with ice. Passing her food to the man, she noticed that something shone in his eyes, a spark of fear. Before she had time to ask, he rushed out into the night, leaving Emily bewildered and upset. The next car arrived and the picture repeated itself. The visitors had missing facial expressions. There was no emotion in their voices. Each order became a mechanical transaction, devoid of the usual jokes and human communication. Emily could not get rid of the feeling that something was wrong. As the night turned to evening, the storm intensified. The rain gushes out of the windows, obscuring his view of the outside world. Emily felt trapped, isolated in the stuffy confines of the passing cabin. She longed for the safety of daylight and the warmth of familiar faces. Then a car came to the window, like no other. It was old and rusty, its windows were cracked and broken. Emily's heart fell when she met the driver's gaze, a pale figure with sunken eyes and a crooked smile. The air thickened with horror as he spoke, his voice turned into an icy whisper. "I'm going to order Happy Meal," he says, and his words oozed with anger. Fear swept over Emily as she fiddled with the order, her hands shaking tremendously. The toy she had put in her bag was icy to the touch, as if it contained a dark secret. Passing the bag to the driver, she noticed something lurking in the back seat, a dark figure with burning red eyes. The car disappeared in the storm, leaving Emily paralyzed by terror. The obsessive sound of laughter echoed in her head, tormenting her with its diabolical jubilation. Suddenly, the intercom came alive, emitting a distorted voice, from which the goosebumps emitted on Emily's back. He whispered her name, taking her deeper and deeper into the nightmarish realm that enveloped the restaurant. Frozen on the spot, she could not resist his charm. With each step, the walls seemed to close, enveloping him in a web of darkness. When Emily arrived in the kitchen, she saw a crowd of ghostly ghosts. Their eyes were shining otherworldly. They hid among the fryers and grills, their murmurs echoed in the empty space. They longed for more than food, they longed for the souls of the living. In a desperate attempt to escape, Emily came across the door leading to the basement of the restaurant. She went down the stairs, her heart beating frantically in her chest. The darkness engulfed her, stifling the screams as she realized that she had fallen into the clutches of something much more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. Deep in the basement, Emily discovered a terrible secret. The McDonald's restaurant was built on top of an ancient tomb desecrated by its construction. The souls of the undead were begging for revenge, and now they longed for Emily's vitality. Tormented by spirits, Emily fought to escape from their supernatural grip. With each step, the darkness became more and more oppressive, threatening to engulf him. She could hear their whispers, their icy breath caressing her neck. Despair fueled her as she stumbled through a maze of corridors, her only hope of survival. Finally, Emily burst through the basement doors, gasping for breath when she came out on a stormy night. The passing cabin stood in front of her like a beacon of safety in the midst of the chaos. Without looking back, she ran towards him, her feet themselves carrying her away from this nightmare. When Emily approached the cabin, the storm suddenly stopped. The rain stopped and the wind stopped howling. The silence was deafening. She turned around to look at the restaurant, but found only an empty parking lot in the place where it once stood. McDonald's disappeared as if it never existed. With a mixed feeling of relief and fear, Emily realized that she had escaped from the grip of the nightmare. This experience changed her forever, and she was haunted by the memories of that fateful night. She will never be able to look at the McDonald's with the same gaze again, knowing the darkness that hides under its golden vaults. Thus, the nightmare on the road turned into an instructive story that the townspeople were whispering about. They warned each other to avoid this particular McDonald's, to stay away from the roadway after dark. For those who dared to penetrate into its depths would be lost forever, their souls would be invaded by the troubled spirits who longed for their society.
To lift a long time ago, in a small town surrounded by mystery, there was a McDonald's restaurant. It was an ordinary fast food restaurant where families and children gathered who wanted to try their favorite Happy Meals dishes. But they didn't know much. A sinister presence lurked between the walls, waiting for an unsuspecting victim to fall victim to his dark intentions. One sunny day, a young girl named Emily jumped into McDonald's with sparkling excitement in her eyes. It was her birthday, and she was looking forward to her special treat, a fun meal. When she reached the counter, the cashier handed her a beautifully wrapped bag with a toy she had never seen before. It was a small figure, a strange, twisted creature with menacing eyes and jagged teeth. Unperturbed by his strange appearance, Emily took her cheerful meal and headed to the next table. She greedily devoured his delicious French fries and savored every bite of his cheeseburger, completely oblivious to the sinister energy emanating from the toy. When the clock struck midnight, strange events began to unfold around her. Emily woke up in the middle of the night. Her room was plunged into darkness. The room was colder than usual, and an anxious silence hung heavily in the air. She reached for her water bottle on the bedside table, but when her hand touched the surface, she froze. The room suddenly came alive with whispers, a cacophony of ominous voices whispering in an incomprehensible language. Sound source? Damn Happy Meal toy. Horror gripped Emily's heart when she realized that the toy had come to life. He moved by himself, his sinister eyes looking into her soul. The whispers grew louder and louder, filling the room, echoing in her mind. Night after night the persecution continued. The toy changed its position, appearing in unexpected places. Its evil presence became stronger every hour. A cheerful meal that was once jubilant has turned into a nightmare, a symbol of torment and horror. Emily's days turned into a constant battle with fear. Her nights were filled with terrible dreams. She turned to her parents for help, but they rejected her claims, attributing them to hyperactive imagination. They could not understand the horror that had entered their daughter's life. As the days turned into weeks, Emily's physical and mental condition worsened. She became thin and pale, her once brilliant eyes dimmed from sleepless nights. Determined to escape from the clutches of the cursed toy, she set off on a dangerous search for answers. Armed with her unwavering courage, she plunged into the mysterious history of the city, desperately trying to find the source of the curse. In the course of her research, Emily discovered a long-forgotten legend. Decades ago, the country was haunted by a vengeful spirit seeking to avenge the injustice he faced in life. According to legend, the spirit cursed a series of toys that were distributed during Happy Meals, passing on his anger to unsuspecting children. Armed with this new knowledge, Emily embarked on a dangerous journey to lift the curse. She went deeper into the forest, following the path that led to the resting place of the spirit, an old dilapidated hut hidden among the trees. Armed with a small box, she cautiously approached the booth. Inside the cabin, the air became heavy, saturated with anger and heartache. Emily carefully opened the box, revealing the cursed toy that plagued her existence. With a firm hand, she placed him on a makeshift altar surrounded by candles. She whispered the incantation in a trembling but determined voice, begging the spirit to release her from his grip. The room became even bigger when a powerful gust of wind swept through the cabin. The cursed toy trembled, its menacing shape gradually disappeared. The whispering stopped, and Emily felt a weight lifted from her shoulders. The curse was lifted, and she finally escaped from the clutches of a ghostly cheerful meal. The strange atmosphere that enveloped McDonald's dissipated, and laughter filled the air again. Emily's parents, now aware of the supernatural forces at work in the game, hugged their daughter, grateful for her bravery and resilience. Despite the fact that Emily was marked by this exciting experience, she has become stronger. Her spirit is indomitable. She vowed to protect others from the cursed toys, warning children and parents about the dangers lurking. The legend of a happy meal with ghosts will forever remain in his memory, a frightening reminder of the darkness that can hide in the most unexpected places.
In the heart of a forgotten city was an old McDonald's restaurant, its golden arches tarnished by time and desolation. Its once bright red and yellow colors have faded, and the windows have been covered with a thick layer of dust. The playground, once filled with children's laughter and joy, has now been abandoned, enveloped in a frightening silence. Legend says that this place of play has become a habitat for restless spirits, the ghosts of forgotten and abandoned children behind. The locals whispered about strange incidents, ghostly phenomena that roamed the empty playground after dark. The stories painted a picture of a place where the line between reality and the supernatural is blurred. Among the inhabitants of the city stands out one name, Emily Thompson, a young girl who disappeared decades ago. The last time Emily was seen playing in the McDonald's game room, her laughter echoed through the tunnels and slides. But on that fateful day, Emily never returned home, leaving her family and the city in mourning. Years passed, and the story of Emily's disappearance became a frosty legend. The McDonald's restaurant remained a silent witness to the secrets it had kept within its ruined walls. Until a brave group of friends, intrigued by scary stories, decided to explore an abandoned gambling place on their own. The group was made up of Sarah, a curious and fearless girl, Mark, her faithful and skeptical best friend, and Alex, a thrill seeker, always looking for adventure. Armed with flashlights and reunited with the spirit, they entered the desert restaurant, in the air hung with the heavy smell of stale fries. Just as their feet crossed the threshold, an icy breeze swept through the empty dining room, from which they had goosebumps down their backs. The once familiar setting now seemed ominous and announced bad forebodings. Their footsteps echoed as they cautiously approached the entrance to the playground. The doors opened with a creak, opening the gaze to a labyrinth of tunnels and slides immersed in darkness. The only source of light was their flashlights, casting terrible shadows on the walls. Sarah, filled with a mixture of excitement and fear, was walking in front of her friends. As they made their way into the playground, the air seemed to fill with a strange murmur. The whispers grew louder, passing into laughter, echoing in the empty tunnel. Sarah's heart was beating fast, her mind was filled with curiosity and a growing sense of fear. Suddenly, a flickering light caught their attention. They followed its faint glow, their steps quickened. The light led them to a small room where they found a collection of old toys covered with dust and cobwebs. Among them, they found a worn-out doll with a chapped face and empty eyes. From this they got goosebumps in the back. Mark, always skeptical, scoffed at the idea that spirits roam the place of play. But as he lifted the doll, a piercing scream spread through the air, making them cool to the depths of their souls. The cries seemed to come from all sides, as if their presence had awakened the troubled souls of the forgotten children. In the grip of horror, the group ran, stumbling, through a dark labyrinth of tunnels, the beating of their hearts giving in their ears. The whispers became louder, the laughter turned into an obsessive laugh that seemed to follow them on their heels. A once familiar place of play now seemed to be a horror maze. In their desperate attempt to escape, they came across a secret room hidden behind a false wall. Inside, they discovered a dilapidated diary, the pages of which were filled with obsessive words from a lost soul. The diary belonged to Emily Thompson, a girl who disappeared years ago. Emily's words spoke a terrible truth. She was trapped inside the playground, her mind was chained an evil force. The troubled souls of other children who had suffered the same fate wandered through the tunnels, seeking freedom. Driven by a mixture of fear and compassion, Sarah, Mark and Alex decided to help Emily and other lost souls. They went in search of lifting the curse that kept the gambling place in captivity. At every step, they encountered terrifying ghosts, their obsessed eyes begging for their release. The air was getting colder, the darkness thicker, but their determination pushed them forward. They had to find the key to open the chains of the spirits. Finally, after a painful journey through the labyrinth of horror, they discovered an ancient artifact, an enchanted necklace hidden deep in the game room. The necklace radiated from another world, promising salvation to lost souls. Sarah, Mark and Alex were holding hands, their voices shaking as they walked out, invoking the magic of the necklace. A dazzling light enveloped the room, driving away the darkness and freeing the spirits from their eternal torments. When the light went out, the playground was transformed. His faded paintings were restored, and the sounds of children's laughter filled the air again. Emily presented herself before them, her unearthly figure beaming with gratitude. With tears of joy, Emily thanked her new friends Sarah, Mark and Alex for lifting the curse and freeing her and other spirits. McDonald's playground has finally found peace, and its doors will remain open to children's games who will no longer be haunted by the horrors of the past. Thus, the legend of an abandoned place of play has gone from a story of fear and darkness to a story of redemption and hope. The townspeople, once suspicious of the haunted restaurant, have returned to experience the joy it once brought. The souls of the forgotten children have found comfort in the knowledge that they will never be alone again. And the McDonald's playground, which has changed forever, has become a place where laughter has triumphed over fear, where childhood memories could be invigorated again.